This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 141.
Just taking a loss on a single trade, that doesn't bug me at all. But if I have a red week, or let's say 2 red weeks in a row, then the voices just come out screaming.
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. And this is your host. The more he learns about trading, the more basic his setup becomes. Clay Trader.
And it's actually really weird because if I put myself back in the shoes of first getting started, you know, you don't know what you don't know, but then you start to learn a little bit more and you're like, okay, I better buckle down. This is going to be, there's going to be a lot that goes into it. And don't get me wrong, there is a lot that goes into it. But yeah, the more I do learn about trading, the more and more basic my setup becomes. The more and more kind of just straightforward the system and everything has become because there's so many tools out there. And I'm not saying they don't work, but, there reaches a point where, paralysis by analysis is a very real thing. And what I've discovered is you just got to keep it simple. There's a lot of effort. Yeah, there's a lot of things that do go into it. But when it comes to actually formulating and making something practical from a strategy perspective, you got to just keep it pretty straightforward. And, Ches, is that what you've kind of learned too about trading is that, the more you learn about trading, the more basic your strategies and approaches to the market have become?
You couldn't have said it better than I could say because it's exactly that. I spent probably a good year and a half trying, Renko bars and various ways to kind of find entries and this proprietary moving average, which is just a random number some guy picked and it worked a couple times. And now, honestly, I've cut it down to looking at simple patterns, a couple trend lines, a couple moving averages, and that's it. You're totally nailed in the sense of the longer I do this, usually the more I prune off of my charts. Like it's funny how it works.
Yeah, it's I'm sure there's other professions, other I don't want to use the word hobbies, but other things out there where maybe this is also true. But I feel like in a lot of things, the more you learn, just the more you have to continue to use to stay on the ball. I mean, you think about a doctor. A doctor, there's a lot more into it than what they read in their Anatomy 101 book. I mean, but for here, it's like, oh yeah, I just went through 8 million flashcards on candlestick patterns. And it's like, the more I learn is, I can't believe anybody sits there and, memorizes candlestick patterns because there's a much simpler way to approach candlesticks. And if you want to know that way, buy the course. Oh, Ches, how's that for a punchline? That's going to rub some people
People
the
are
right
going to be
way.
furious. I can already see the
all
comments
you do
right
is
now.
talk about, well, you know what? Here's my counter to that. All you do is bring on people. This is, I think, I won't say the biggest, but one of the biggest compliments that we can have here at Clay Trader is our guest today is Norse, and he is from Norway. So I think he might have been our first international member. We don't
I'm not sure if
count
he's
Canada.
the first, but he's one of the many international students who've applied what we teach here as a U.S.-based company, applies it to literally the global market. So yeah,
exactly. And on that note, he is usually I say, and he goes by such and such name in the chat room. I don't even think he's a member anymore. He was a member. He did our education, but now he's kind of just like the bird that's left the nest. And as kind of it's a buzzkill in the sense of, because I do like Norse. I've always liked Norse. He was good when he was hanging around and stuff. But at the end of the day, if you can kind of just look at us and say, I don't need you guys anymore. I know how to do all this. See you later. Then that's fine. I mean, as mommy bird, it's a little sad to watch the bird fly away from the nest. And some people decide to stay around the nest, and that's what makes our community great because you have a bunch of good experienced traders. But other people, they just want to go out and I got it figured out. Thank you for teaching me. I'm going to go catch all my own fish alone. And I'm not offended by that. And that is the case here is Norse was a member, went through the training, but now he's kind of just out doing his own thing, but he was still kind enough to take some time out of his day and share about what he's been doing. And I want to talk about the coding, but I won't. I don't want to spoil that. But there's definitely some firsts here. And then towards the tail end, we go on some, all three of us, well, it's kind of Norse pressing our buttons. He makes a bunch of points, and then Ches and I just go off on these rants about things, but they're actually really relevant. So it's a good interview for sure. So without further ado, let's head to Norway and hear from Norse. Norse, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Clay. Glad to be back. Nice to meet both you and Chess again. It's been a while.
It has been a while. In fact, we were just kind of joking around, did our homework about 60 seconds ago, and Norse was on episode 20. And this is episode 141. So it's literally been over a couple of years. Over 2 years since we last talked to Norse. And to me, Norse is just a flat-out celebrity. He is a Viking. And for those of you that follow the fun facts, you know that I am fascinated by Vikings. I wish I could be one, but I'm just not. And the one thing that I do remember from Norse's podcast was the fun questions. And something about them. I don't remember what it's called, but it was something to do with you eat a sheep's head.
Yeah.
Am I remembering that right, Norse? Walk us through that. That's like a big delicacy over in Norway?
Yeah, some people call it a delicacy, but it's something that we have been used to eating for quite some time. So I think, personally, I don't like it at all. I think it's no, I don't like it at all. It doesn't look good. It doesn't taste good. So it's not my cup of tea.
All right. And I'm assuming it doesn't smell too good either?
No, the smell is okay, but it looks horrible. Yeah, it looks horrible. So you get pictures in your head, and it's bad and tough.
And it's all downhill from there.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Yeah. So that's just, I don't know why. I guess just I didn't know people could eat a sheep's head, but when you're a Viking, you eat whatever you can find, I guess, right? So
we just eat what's
no offense
on the inside.
Yeah. It's not like you're eating the skull or anything. But anyways, so I realize this was literally 2 years ago. So if you can't remember, that's totally fine. But do you remember kind of where you were when we talked 2 years ago? I know you're doing Forex, but kind of summarize for listeners kind of what got you interested in the markets and then what ultimately led you to Forex, and then we'll kind of pick it up from there. But just kind of nutshell, episode 24 to the best of your ability, because like I said, it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, no problem. I have already always heard about the stock market. I know that it was possible to make a lot of money just in the stock market. I just didn't know how. And I came across this ad on the internet with the Norwegian Stock Trading Championship. I lost 20% of my account in that contest, demo money, but that spurred my interest. And then I just started Google searching, going on forums, and then I came across cannabis stocks that were booming, like several thousand%. I read about one guy, he made 360% in one stock in 2 days. And I funded my account that second and went all in.
All into and remind me now, for context's sake, I guess literally probably about 2 or 3-ish years ago, there was the previous bubble, before kind of what's going on with cryptocurrencies and all that stuff, but was the penny stocks and marijuana and cannabis stocks, and those things were just banging. So Norse is not exaggerating at all when he's saying people were making 360% in 2 days. I mean, Ches, you were around. That was just a crazy period of time.
Yeah, that was actually right around the time when I was getting involved, and it was just absurd, the moves that these things were making, and I don't know what better way to define it other than dumb money, people buying and holding overnight, waking up to 300% gains and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a crazy time, that's for sure. Yeah,
and I don't know if Ches just called you dumb money or not there, Norse, but it's okay, because we were all dumb money at one point in time, so that's just kind of the rite of passage. But I'm assuming, I can't remember, did you do okay with the pot stocks, or did that account that you funded, did that get wiped away, over the long haul?
I bought the top itself, or I bought ATTBF at $1.97. I think it's trading at 5 cents or something. So I bought the top, but I was buying on the way down, so I actually had money left over in my account. So I thought that this was a good time to diversify, so I bought UTRM. And then that stock, it was up 96% in the same sector, of course. And that one went to 0001. So not a good start.
No. But you didn't hold those all the way down, right? You eventually cut for a loss.
I held ATTBF down to $1, and then one guy on iHub said that Big Mike, so Mike Whitrow, the CEO of ATTBF, he was buying shares. So I deposited more money into the account, and turned to my wife and said, "This is the biggest position I ever had," and smiled. And then it dumped like 20% the next hour. And then I cut off my position.
Well, I love how you gave context, because if maybe right now you're in a penny stock, or you're just reading about something, not necessarily a penny stock, but some sort of micro cap stock where it's going to be the greatest thing ever. You just got to give it time. You got to give it time. Well, I guarantee you those exact same philosophies were going around with these two stocks. And the first one, he bought at $1.90. He said it's now trading at 5 cents. So that long time that you got to give these big stories to develop, 5 cents that thing's now worth. And then what you said the other one was worth now?
0001, or I think it's delisted or something. It's a horrible company.
All right, so there's the other. You just got to give it time, long and strong, strong hands.
Strong hands.
If you've been around long enough, you've seen all the, buying the weakness. What an opportunity,
it's
time has gone by, and that thing is at best 0001, at worst totally delisted. And when you say 0001, that probably means it doesn't even have a bid. So it's literally, you can't even sell if you wanted to. But so that's funny. So, props to you for not hanging on and going down with the ship. But this is actually kind of neat, because 2 years later now, we have the updates on what those stocks are actually worth, and they're not worth what people were probably proclaiming at the time. So what ultimately led you into Forex? Because I know that's where you were at that point. So penny stocks didn't work out. Where did Forex come to be?
Well, penny stocks, they actually worked out, because after I took that major loss, I took the robotic trading course, and I went back and traded ERBB. Not sure, I think. And
that's a classic.
That classic.
We traded a lot of that.
That one still actually makes a move every now and then too, even up until this point in time.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, that and mine and all the cannabis stocks, just buying support and selling at resistance, doubling the account. But when I saw all the trades going through, I saw also on the broker statement how much I paid in commissions. And then I was out having dinner with some friends. And a friend of mine, he was trading Forex, and he said, "Why do you pay all of that money in commissions when you can trade Forex for free? Since there's no commissions, you only pay the spread."
Right. And so did that lead you to kind of take a hard look at what your kind of commissions and expenses were, and to say, hey, maybe I should just apply what I know already to Forex charts?
Yeah. But then I changed my approach entirely. I was trading the daily chart on ERBB and all of the other stocks, and I was trading the 5-minute chart on the euro. And I had a rough start there as well, because my friend said, all you have to do in Forex is short the euro USD. And as soon as I opened my Forex account, that was the bottom in the euro USD. And we have went sideways ever since. So
that's amazing how it works out. All you have to do is do something. Well, that works until it doesn't anymore. So to make, those blanket statements like that, it's like, maybe that's true right now, but, trading is not quite as easy as, massive blankets like that just cover, a general variety of things. Well, I forgot, now that you're racking my brain, I do remember penny stocks did ultimately turn out okay for you, but the big key was there, like you said, you took robotic training, and then you could kind of see much better of what was going on. So you shorted the bottom of. Now, are we caught up now to where you were in your previous podcast, or do we still have a little bit of time?
I think there's. I think I was a few months. I started trading Forex in October. I think we had the podcast in May or something, or if my memory serves me correct. So.
Come on, Norse, you can't remember 2 years ago?
No.
I need these exact details from 2 years ago. So anyways, point being, you took your buddy's advice, and you did short, and kind of what happened from there? Did you just sit and hold, or how did things unfold from that point?
No, I just started taking losses, and then I went back to robotic trading. I went to YouTube, I went to Google, I took more courses, and started to develop trading strategies for Forex. Disclaimer, the same strategies in stocks apply to Forex. So
Spoiler alert! Yeah, charts are just mainly a big picture of people's emotions. So now, correct me if I'm wrong though, because I've followed you on Twitter, and me and you have chatted here and there to make sure everything was okay, and because I know you've been busy doing other stuff. But did you go from a shorter term time frame trading Forex to a longer term time frame trading Forex? Because I've personally tried to trade shorter term Forex, and I just get whipped out all the time. So I started looking at like the hourly and higher, but I wasn't sure if you kind of felt the same way.
I went to the daily because I saw that the easiest trades to spot when we were hitting daily support and resistance and trend lines and stuff like that. So I stayed on the 4-hour chart and executed on the 1 hour and the 15-minute chart. So that's what it eventually led me to.
Okay, 1 hour and 15-minute, and I guess we'll kind of just jump to right now, and then we can always backtrack and fill in the gaps. But where are you still trading Forex right now as we talk?
Yeah, trading Forex. Still doing the same process. I wait. I like the daily context, and I execute on a 1 hour chart. So I'm basically just doing the same thing, but with smaller variations from what I was doing. So more structured process.
Okay, so over the past basically 2 years, did you ever veer off the Forex path? Did any shiny objects ever come and grab you? Or did you literally stay and trade Forex the past couple of years?
No, only Forex. I trade gold and oil, but I consider them the same as Forex. I know it's a commodity, but I have it on the same platform, so I just trade them.
And a chart is a chart, right? Like we already discussed. So I mean,
yeah, but but they act like Brent, for example, the crude oil. It reacts different than the euro when it comes into significant support or resistance. So you get to know them personally because I trade only a handful of pairs and commodities. So I get to more personal experience with them. So.
And you get to know them personally by using the chart, is I guess the point I was making. So sure, maybe charts act differently, but the way you get to know them and know how they act is via the chart itself. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, totally.
So that's why it's a chart is a chart, and that's actually a really good point, Norse. Because yeah, you're right. Some stocks, some currency pairs, some commodities. Yeah, you're looking at a chart, but they're all going to have, and when we always on here, we talk about, you got to get romantic with a stock or with a currency pair because you got to get to know them. You got to get to know their personality. So once again, Norse has definitely confirmed that, yeah, all these things act certain ways. And can you give us more of and maybe it's going to be hard to describe, but can you give me an example of how the personality of Brent compared to the personality of gold, or whatever example you think would be easiest to explain? But what do you mean by personality? What have you noticed?
Especially when it comes to shorting Brent after it's hitting a significant resistance area. It's two setups. Either it goes sideways for a day and a half and then a sharp breakdown and then the retracement, or just a quick fire short right down and then just slow bleed for a few days. So that's what I noticed.
Now, I want to kind of loop around too, because you had kind of mentioned, and it seems totally normal to you now, that you have a more refined process. Can you kind of define that? Like, did you just kind of really kind of make sure you had nailed down your entry criteria to it needs to meet this, it needs to meet this, and it needs to meet this for me to enter with my stop located here? Or, obviously, I know from watching you on Twitter and stuff that you don't just wing it. You obviously have a process. Can you kind of talk about how that has kind of grown over time? You've been doing this for 2 years now at Forex, pretty much. So, how has that process grown? What had to happen for you to kind of learn that? I need this requirement, or I need this requirement?
Before, I just went in head first and let's see how this plays out, just winging it. But after looking back on my old trades, my old stats and everything, so I had to find a way how to reduce my number of losses and to maximize my winners. So then I just went back and did a lot of testing and looked at the kind of setups that I want. So I like to trade reversals, particularly, because that is where my biggest edge is. And then I just structure a process around that. So I have to have certain criterias checked off before I can take a trade on that specific pair or commodity.
What are these criterias that need to be checked off?
I like daily candlesticks like shooting stars or bearish engulfing. I like the shooting stars more, like the pin bar, more than I like the engulfing bar, to be honest, because the engulfing, it leads to a slow bleed without the retracement, and then I'm lost. I can't get myself to take an entry just when price is just dripping down. I need some sort of retracement to get in.
That makes sense because you don't want to be chasing. So I would say that's a good criteria, essentially, is you want to see some sort of, like you were saying, just if all you're seeing is a price going down and down and down, hopping at that point, that is pretty scary. I mean, Ches, we see that all the time, don't we, when people want to chase the price, whether it's from the long side or the short side.
Yeah, definitely. And I was just kind of smiling over here at what he was saying because I'm the same way. Those big engulfing bars, I don't have any way to really manage my risk. Like that's the whole thing on why I also like pin bars a lot more than kind of engulfing bars. But yeah, the whole thing, and Norse, correct me if I'm wrong though, the whole reason why you have specific things you look for is because it's very easy and very kind of cut and clear to you on how to manage your risk, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if Brent comes near a significant resistance and I want to short and it doesn't penetrate that level, then I can't take the trade unless price moves significantly lower on the 1 hour chart. So a lot of lower lows and lower highs. So my favorite setup of them all is the turtle soup. I'm not sure if you guys know what it is.
Maybe we might call it something else, but I can. I don't know. I don't want to talk for Ches, but I have not heard of the turtle soup.
I do not, but I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah. So what is it? Is it turtle soup or sheep's head?
No, turtle soup. Yeah. There was a
bad joke. Sorry.
There was a guy in the 80s. He put an ad in a Wall Street Journal, and he seeked out people to train them the way he traded, and all he did.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Turtle trader, Clay. You know what this is.
Yeah, and this strategy is based around going against the turtles because the turtles, they buy above a 20-day high and sell below a 20-day low. And when I see price failing at the previous high or a low, then I get my trigger conditions ready and my order set. And those are my favorite setups because when a lot of traders are trapped on the wrong side of the market usually moves pretty fast and pretty violent. And I don't like to be in a trade for days without price moving in my favor. I want reaction almost instantly. And I get that from that particular setup.
Okay, that was an interesting comment. You don't want to be in a trade for days if it's just sitting there. So it sounds like you are willing to be into a trade for days. So I guess on that note, what is your ideal time frame? How long are you looking to stay in trades? How long are you willing to even stay in a trade? But what's kind of your ideal setup and ideal management from a time perspective?
My normal holding time is 3 to 10 days. My losers, they get stopped out on day 1 usually, sometimes on day 2 or 3, but usually I get some sort of movement on my trade on day 1, at latest day 2, and then I just hold until the next support or resistance, or I just keep on building if I have a high conviction trade going on. Okay, so you are now. What happens if it reaches day 11 or day 12? Are you okay with holding, or do you have a rigid set of rules that says, on day 10 I just want to... price is starting to reverse. Yeah, if it's on day 11 and price is looking like it wants to reverse, I just move my stop down, and if I get the setup to sell or buy even more, so adding to the position, I will do that as well. Because I like building into a bigger position and then just starting off with a probe and just building myself a monster if price continues to go in my favor.
Okay, so you are looking to build into winning positions, or are you willing to build into losing positions too?
I never build into, if price does not react from my level, I never add to that loser. I just cut it when it hits my stop. But when price, let's say on gold, I had a trade on gold in July, I think. We had a turtle soup, and then price moved in my favor, and then it pulled back to the EMA 50 on a 1 hour. I added. Price moved even further in my favor. I added on a pullback to a support, and price just kept moving, and I kept adding on pullbacks. So that's the way I like to add to the trades. So because I have tried averaging down on trades before, and you probably know how that went. So
probably not as good as when you're buying into strength and building onto a winning position. So no, that makes good sense. And what I just like to hear and what I want listeners to pick up on is when he added, it's not like, and then the price exploded, so then I just bought some more. No, it exploded in his favor, sure, but then the price pulled back. And a lot of people might think, well, geez, that's when you should be selling. Well, no, that's why Norse has general trade ideas, and as long as the overall flow, aka the trend of things, is still in his overall premise going in, then yeah, he's going to buy more. But notice he's not buying more by chasing or just randomly buying. He's waiting for things to pull back to move in averages or to levels up support. So very big distinction that I see all the time is, oh yeah, I added to my position, and where did you add? And then they tell me, it's like, all right, well, you just totally bought the top of that candle. Sure, within the long haul, it may work out, but if you would have just deployed a little bit of technical analysis and a little bit of patience, you could have gotten, a much better entry point. So I like how you kind of explained all that, because that makes good logical sense, from a charting perspective. So in terms of, we know that you're trading some commodities, but kind of back in the world of Forex, do you have any currency pairs that you really like to focus in on, or are you just kind of going wherever the volume is? But what do you like to trade Forex-wise?
I trade all the majors. I have a very special relationship with the Euro AUD and dollar yen and the yen pairs in general, because they tend to trend for a significant amount of time, and the moves on the yen is insanely violent, and I like to be in on those types of trends.
Yeah, the yen is notorious. So for a little bit of context, I actually trade 8 pairs on the daily as well for Forex. I just keep it very small. I just wanted to kind of branch out and try my hand at swing trading, various currency pairs. But something I wanted to bring up is, you kind of mentioned again in passing, I think these are kind of big things for listeners to kind of take away from, is you said you had looked at your data and realized that you needed to kind of reduce your losers and increase your winners, probably in terms of, profits and losses and, just overall success. So go over your journaling process, because obviously for you to have that kind of data, you must be logging your trades. Are you using like an Excel spreadsheet? Do you have some kind of program you're using? Obviously there must have been something you used to kind of analyze and realize, hey, I need to stop doing this. I need to do more of this.
I use tradingview.com, and since I don't have I don't have 50 trades a week, so I write all of my trades down in my journal. And then I just go back into the chart so I can reassess at the end of the week and just see if it was a good trade according to my trading setups, or if it weren't. And if it failed, was it my mistake, or did price just move in the opposite way without me having any kind of system to avoid it? So just a regular loss.
Now, Clay, I wanna bring this up because I actually want you to weigh in here too. I love the fact that Norse fully understands that you could do everything right in setting up a trade and taking an entry, and the trade just doesn't work. You don't hear Norse over here saying, well, I took a loss, so I totally abandoned my system, and now I'm trying to use, Renko bars and a blend of various indicators. He just says it. Sometimes you look back at it, and it just didn't work out, and that's just how trading goes. So.
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, he might as well be serenading me with sweet Norwegian folk tales, because I mean that's how I took that. Is just, yeah, you can't. That's just understanding. That's understanding and having confidence in your plan. And I did a vlog not that long ago where I talked about kind of just how do you approach, how do you kind of stay strong as a trader, if you will? And it all revolves around mental toughness. And I get it, mental toughness, that's just a blanket statement. That's just a broad statement. What does that even mean? But how do you get it? Well, that's how you get it. You have a system, you have a strategy, put it into place. And how do you know if you believe in that system and strategy once it's put into place? Well, like Norse just said and Ches, touched on, you got to stick with it. Just because something goes wrong, you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, yeah, you know what? It just didn't work out. And that's just how the market works. If something doesn't work out and your conclusion is, oh, the system's broken, that tells me that you must be on the quail for some on the trail for some holy grail system. And it just doesn't exist. I know I've looked, and I know Ches has mentioned it many times before. He's looked. It just isn't out there. And if it is out there, I promise you, people are not selling it for $9.90 in a spam email alert that shows up. So, just keep things in a perspective. And that's great because he says it Norse is saying lots of things in passing, but it's like, oh, that's actually a really good point. So, I guess now you are totally full time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what I thought. But so we'll rearrange this question a little bit. As a full-time trader, what does your kind of routine and schedule look like in terms of how do you approach every day? And are there any certain things that you are literally doing every day at every time? But how do you approach things from kind of a routine, perspective as a full-time trader?
I always look at the daily close, and I have alerts set for all of the currency pairs that I trade. And I don't go to work, so to say, unless my alert goes off or we come into the London closed New York open session. That time window of like 3 hours, it presents a lot of good opportunities, and I see that the majority of all my fills happen in that time span as well. So that's the time I'm focusing on.
And then, do you wake up at a certain time, or do you just kind of roll out of bed and because you've set those alerts prior, you're all set to go? Or are you doing anything, other than at the close looking at the daily charts?
Before I had like a 24/7 thing going on with alerts everywhere, but now I have ventured more into automation. So I'm using EAs to help me execute the trades. So I use Trendline EA and I use a EMA EA. So the EA, he just executes when the price hits the EMA with the trend, places my stop loss, and then he just leaves the building and the trade is mine to manage. So that helps me a lot. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it frees up a lot of time.
You said an EA?
Yeah, expert advisors.
What? Okay, Ches, are you familiar with EAs, expert advisors? It sounds like
is that just the coding stuff that's in MetaTrader 4 or something, or is this an actual person that does that for you?
I had to hire a programmer to develop both of my EAs. So it's just a program, a simple line of code. So it just does what you want it to do when the conditions are met.
Okay.
Gotcha. So it's just he's literally coding his entry criteria, and it will take the entry for him, and then it's up to him to kind of imagine. I think that's totally awesome, because I was going to say the only way I could really trade Forex on the daily levels was I would just place resting orders, and then I get an email if I got filled on it, and then set my stop loss and all that with the resting order. But no, that's pretty cool. I'm actually you want to talk about investing in your business and a trading business. Norse is over here hiring coders and stuff like that to kind of make entry bots for him. And by no means is he saying this bot is a 99.9% hit rate. It's just literally to get him into entries, and he doesn't have to sit at the desk all day. So I think that's totally awesome. Now, obviously, you've been trading you got a good amount of time under your belt now. And I know you don't have a decade under your belt, but you got a good amount of time. So here's the question. I want to touch on, what is it like? What do you actually feel, mentally and emotionally when you take a loss now versus when you kind of used to take a loss? Because I have a feeling I already know what you're going to say, but I just want the listeners to kind of understand how far you've actually come from, like when you just started this to now.
Just taking a loss on a single trade, that doesn't bug me at all. But if I have a red week, or let's say 2 red weeks in a row, then the voices just come out screaming because I need money to pay rent, I need money to pay mortgage and fuel for my car and just food in my refrigerator. But I'm used to getting punched in the face with Forex, and my system, it has a 50% win rate. And I always know that the next drawdown, it might come just next week. So, but it's not important how many times you get punched in the face. It's important how fast you can get up on your feet, get your head in the right state, and then just continue taking those trades you're supposed to take.
Well said, well said. And just for you mathematicians out there that are listening, well, actually, his account would remain flat because he just said he only wins half of the time. So his strategy is a coin toss. Well, if that's what you're thinking, that's fine. But that's why risk management is so important. Sure, he may only win 50% of the time, but as he's discussed, when he wins, he is winning much more than what he is losing. So you can't look at it as black and white. Oh, win, loss, everything else is exactly the same. No. When you know how to manage risk, when you understand how to put yourself in situations where you can let winners win, and those of you that have traded for a while, you know what I mean by winners win. And when you just say, nope, lost, done, a 50% win rate, it's totally viable to have a growing account. In fact, off the top of my head now, I remember doing a case study on RD, who's I think been a guest 2 or 3 times on the podcast, but we'll link that in the show notes below, an article where his win rate was literally 53% or 52% or something, but his account over that time span of like a month or whatever it was, I can't remember the exact article, but I have all the screenshots and stuff within the article, but yet his account still grew like $2,500. So,
I mean, me personally, my win rate is 48% over 70 trades, and I'm positive too. So I'm less than 50-50, and I still make money. So it's funny how that works, though, right? It's all about risk management. Exactly.
And, you know, the trolls, that's the quickest way to show anybody that you're ignorant when it comes to trading is be like, okay, so you win 50% of the time, so you might as well go to the casino because it's a flip of a coin. No, that's a way too surface deep understanding of it. So, I guess you probably kind of already answered that, Norse, but the voices come out if you've had a couple of red weeks. But what keeps your sanity, what keeps you just focused and locked in is that you know that your system is 50%. So is that kind of how you kick the mental voices to the curb, how you get them out of your head is just having full trust in your system?
Yeah, because I have trusted the system and traded the system for such a long time. So it gets easier to get over the bump. So, and to minimize, so I already know when my mental state is going down, then I just starting to reduce trade size, protecting my capital and protecting my own sanity, basically. And then when I start to get in the rhythm of things, then I just ramp up and get back to normal size. And if I get a runner that I can add to, I have made back more than I lost during the drawdown regardless. So it just takes time. So the holy grail in trading is just time and patience and perseverance. That's what I think.
Another quote, boom.
Yeah, exactly. That is the holy grail in trading. You're absolutely right. Time with a little bit of passion mixed in, with a little bit of education mixed in, and with a little bit of just, you got to have faith. But it's hard to have faith if you're out there and everything is coming from random sources. But, Ches already touched on it. Norse, he invested in his education. He's taken robotic trading. He's freaking hired a coder. So he's obviously, treating this like a business without question. And what do friends and family think? I'm just curious. You're a full-time trader. I know what it's like when people are like, so Clay, what do you do? Or especially my wife, bless her heart, what does your husband do? And Abby's just like, oh, but what are your friends and family? I mean, what do they think about this whole you working in your underwear all day long, sitting at the computer?
They don't understand it at all. So,
what do they think you do? I mean, if you had to guess, if I were to go up to them and be like, hey, what does Norse do? What do you think they'd say to me?
I think they would mention gambling, robots, crazy robots, and laziness, something. I'm not sure because people on the outside, they don't understand trading in general. Many of them can grasp the aspect of investing, but not alone active trading at all.
No, absolutely. And from my impression, Ches, feel free to chime in at any point. It's an outsider's point of view is like, oh yeah, the market, buy low, sell high. And it's just like, okay, yeah, that's, I guess, what kind of trading is. But as far as you start to bring up, well, actually, you need to have a trade plan that's main focus is on risk, and you got to let winners win, and their eyes just glaze over, and like, gambling, I'm sure definitely comes into mind. Is that pretty much your experience here with the outsiders, Ches? Just people automatically jump to faulty conclusions?
The same exact thing. They think that you're, Jordan Belfort or whatever, and I just buy crappy penny stocks and I have a boat and stuff like that. And it's actually gotten to the point where I don't even tell people that I trade. I actually, if I go out at a bar or something and somebody asks what I do, I actually just tell people I'm a risk manager. And then I just eventually kind of lead into, I'm in the financial markets and I'm a risk manager, and they kind of leave it at that. Because when you tell people you're a trader, it's just, oh, so you gamble for a living. And I'm just like, I'm not going to even go down this route with you. I'm not even going to try to convert you right now. But yeah, it's just, I completely agree with Norse and you. It's just, if it's hard to explain it, it's very easy. They understand the idea of investing, but they don't understand that emotions are baked into charts, and you can make logical decisions and kind of have, more consistent and long-term results. Obviously, you've been doing it over 10 years, so you're living proof of that. But most people don't see those stories. They just see, oh yeah, I had a friend who put $100,000 into futures and blew up, and you're like, okay, so it's all gambling. But yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, exactly. How do you try to explain it to your friends and family in any certain ways, Norse, or are you kind of like Ches and myself, and you just kind of throw your hands up and just
so when
say,
people come to me and ask, I don't even tell them I trade. I just tell them I'm in sales, because, like Ches said, I just don't want to go down that road and make a conversion out of it.
I don't have the willpower anymore. I used to have the willpower and I'd be excited, and now I'm just like, I'm burnt out. You guys always say the same stuff.
Yeah.
Well, especially you, Ches. I mean, you're dealing with customers all day long with the same types of things that you have to iron out. So when it gets out to your personal life, I don't blame you at all. I'll be like, no, I just spent all day trying to convince people that.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's anyways. So I guess looking at the time, we'll kind of start to wrap things up. But as far as I always like to ask this, to people that come back, because I think it does a good job of just showing how, the journey is really never ending. But strengths and weaknesses, I guess we'll start off. Are you aware, are you currently focusing on, is there any areas of your trading or your mindset or your approach, whatever, that weakness may not be the right word, but just something that you're aware of that you want to work on? I mean, do you have anything of like that going on currently?
Yeah, the mental side of it. And when there's not any setups that meet my criteria, I need to work on doing nothing. Just walking away, playing FIFA, or taking a walk. Like anything else than sitting in front of my computer and taking a trade out of boredom. Because that still happens, and that bugs me a lot.
Oh, I'm full in the boat, and actually it's kind of funny you mentioned that, because I've been a huge proponent, and if you've been a listener of the podcast for a while, you probably know I always kind of bark about the foo-foo nonsense voodoo of like how important it is to mentally be ready to trade, and the pitfalls we just fall into and stuff like that. So I've actually spent probably the last year and a half just focusing, not looking for the holy grail strategy, just trying to get my mind right. And you kind of nailed it. You got to know when. I love when you said earlier, you just know when you need to size down and get back into the rhythm, because if you're not in the rhythm, you're just fighting the market, and the market always wins. The market will always beat you versus, what rhythm you want it to go. So I think that's really cool. I'm also with you in terms of focusing on that mental side and just knowing sometimes you just got to step away. But what would you say are kind of some of your strengths that you've kind of definitely worked on over the past few years? What have you seen noticeable improvement on just from a personal side in your trading?
Perseverance. Just straight up perseverance.
You're just stubborn, and you want to make things work.
I'm never allowing myself to give up. I think I had that thought almost 2 years ago. I had 12 losses in a row over a time span of, I think it was 3 days. And I was on the verge of like giving up, but it's not in my nature to give up, and nobody ever remembers the guy who gave up. No one. So
I like that. There's another quote, Ches, right there. Nobody ever remembers the guy who gave up. I would agree. Sometimes we remember the guy that is an idiot and blows up their account. Was that your wife there, Norse?
Yeah, that was my wife.
That's fine. She sounds like a lovely lady. I appreciate her letting you come take some time out of your day. So at the end of the day, you just pretty much, for you, it was, I don't want to be a quitter. Nobody remembers a quitter, because that's a really interesting story, because there's been a lot of people that have, are there. Maybe they're there right now. Maybe they've been there. Maybe they're going to be there. They're just not aware of it yet, where they're just right on the verge of, maybe I just need to quit. And for you, it was just straight up kind of being stubborn. And correct me if I'm wrong, I would assume that you like this too. So I think that kind of overcoming that quit hurdle is a little bit easier too when you actually really like this stuff and like the challenge of it. So I do assume that along with your perseverance is a little bit easier because you do enjoy all this, right?
Yeah, I think it was a doc who's compared the market to like crack cocaine, or
that was Doc for sure.
It
that
absolutely was Doc, a classic quote.
So just based on that, so I just have to, when I had this problem, there's three steps to solving a problem, and I knew that I had a problem because I couldn't find a winning trade even if my life was depending on it. So I knew what the problem was, and so I knew that I had to come up with a solution, and then I just went into myself, into the chart, and then I made a process and moved forward. So instead of
I like how you said you knew there was a, and I knew there was a problem, and the problem was X, Y, or Z, and X, Y, and Z are all external forces. No, I have a problem, and you weren't blaming anything else. You knew that you needed to fix it, so therefore you took the proper steps to fix it. You didn't sit there and start, sending emails, reporting somebody to this or reporting somebody to that because they're manipulating the prices of the things that you're trading. You weren't sitting there, banging on the doors of hedge funds. Hey, you just took full responsibility, and that's the only way anybody's ever going to get better, is taking full responsibility and acknowledging that there is a problem, but taking it that next level and that you are the problem. So that's good stuff there, because we see it all the time, and it's you just can't get better if you're always blaming everybody else other than yourself. I assure you, your next door neighbor's dog's cousin's mother-in-law has nothing to do with you being a bad trader or you not having winning trades. It's going to be something, whether it's your system or some sort of mental issue going on, but you got to figure it out. And on top of this, and I love how crack cocaine, good reminder there. But yeah, Norse, he likes this. Ches, he likes this. I like this stuff. The easiest way to burn yourself out is, I need money. You can make big money in the stock market. Boom, I want to get in. I'm not making money. Okay, I quit. It's all rigged. Like, you have no chance at all unless you have passion. I mean, would you agree with that, Norse, that unless you have some sort of passion for this stuff, within the long run, it's not going to work out, even if you do give enough time, because you're just not truly passionate enough about it? Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. You have to have passion and perseverance to make it, like, even 1 year in this business.
And some would probably argue, depending on where you throw yourself in. I mean, if you just throw yourself into a futures account, Ches, making it even 6 months or even 3 months.
3 months, exactly.
So,
and I was just gonna say, it actually makes sense on why that the unfortunate statistic that 90% of traders fail. I would actually change that to 90% of traders quit. Because I've wiped out 50% of my account before, right when I started, and gone through drawdowns and been in the same position as Norse, where I'm just like, I can't find a winning trade. Like, every trade I take is a loser and I want to quit. But the difference is, I stuck through it. I looked for a solution instead of just complaining and whining and, calling my senator about how the market's rigged or anything like that. So if you don't have that kind of persistence and, just drive to do this, I'm in full agreement that you're just going to burn out and you'll quit. And, whether you made it or not, it doesn't really matter. Some people want to do this and some people don't. If you're here to kind of make quick money really fast and go buy a Lamborghini and date supermodels, well, good luck. You could put it all on red or black, but most likely you're going to lose even if you make it on the first one. So good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you score on that first one, now all of a sudden your ego is, I got it all
gone
figured
after
out.
that.
So you double down on the next one. And even if you hit that one, now you really got it all figured out. So then on the next one, it'll eventually bite you. Like I said, the market is very tricky and very cruel. I guess the final question here, unless Ches has anything else or if you want to add anything, but my final question is kind of looking forward. Do you have any sort of plans that or goals that you want to accomplish? Are you looking to, hire another coder to get some sort of new code? Sounds like for you, the sky is the limit. You were literally the first person we've ever talked to that has gone out and hired a coder for their trading, which is awesome. But what about plans and goals looking forward? Do you have anything in particular, or are you just kind of going to stay on the current path?
Yeah, I have one goal or two goals I'm working towards. There's a 15% loss reduction that I want to happen within 3 months. So because that will put me on a whole nother level. And I'm looking for a new EA because my EA currently works in trending markets. So I'm looking for something to take advantage of ranging markets, so sideways. So I need to come up with some sort of filter or something to understand what kind of phase the market is in right now. Because right now, the EA is not like a 24/7 thing. It's a hybrid, so I have to activate it when I see that the conditions are right. So I want to have something on complete autopilot.
Gotcha. So here's a question for you, though. What are you going to do to kind of work on that 15% reduction? Are you just going to be more selective in your entries? Are you going to try to pinpoint what trades are lower probability for you? Because I find this interesting because if I dropped, even 5 to 10% of my kind of losing trades, I'd be on a whole different tier as well. So I guess what are you going to do to kind of accomplish that?
That comes down to the phase that the market is in, because the market is trending 30% of the time and goes into consolidation 70% of the time. So it's like you said, being more selective on the entries and just waiting more for confirmation on the pairs that I want to trade. So it all comes down to patience. At least that's what I'm thinking right now, and some sort of filter and momentum. Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like your thinking cap is still on, and you're definitely just spitballing ideas and still brainstorming. Is that pretty accurate in terms of where things stand in regards to that? You're just still thinking of ideas.
Oh yeah, of course, because that's what I like to do. I like to come up with projects and work towards them and find what kind of solution that I eventually land on when the problem is solved, sort of, so to say. So even if I reach 50% of my goal, that will still be a huge difference to my current situation.
I like that. And this was not planned, folks, but what does passion look like? And I quote, "I like to create projects for myself." Raise your hands if you go to work and say, "I can't wait for my next I can't wait to create a project for myself." Most people, that is like words spoken out of a horror show. Oh, great, the next project. And here's Norse saying, "I love to create projects for myself." If that is not passion, then I don't know what is. So what does passion look like? I realize that's kind of a broad statement. There we go. Perfect example of what passion and how it kind of fortifies itself within somebody's personality and with somebody's outlook on the market. I love to create projects for myself. Ches, that pretty much summarizes passion, doesn't it? I know when you
just think about when I worked in the cubicle, it's like all I want to do is I'm ready for lunch to come and play ping pong and get out of there, and but that's the difference between doing something you love and doing something you don't love. He doesn't look at it like work. He's looking forward to the project and improving, his trading. So yeah, that's exactly what passion looks like, and it's I don't know how to definitely sounds corny and cliche, but it doesn't actually feel like work when you find something you love to do. It's just as simple as that. I don't know a better way to put it.
And the other awesome thing that I really appreciate is because you are a business owner, and if you don't realize that, if you get into trading, you are a business owner. So the more hard work, the more effort, the more dedication that you put in, you are not at risk. I will say that again. You are not at risk of if you're working a 9-to-5 job on salary with no profit sharing, no, options, nothing like that. You are literally, okay, I just put in all this blood, sweat, and tears, and here I just got my paycheck on Friday. It is what it is. No, in trading as a business owner, sure, you're not guaranteed to make money, but that's the beautiful thing. There's always a trade-off, and in this situation, the trade-off is, but there's no limit to how much money you can make. So when you're putting in all that time, effort, doing all that stuff, that can result in literally more money. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It is a business owner, and the more you work on your business, the more potential upside there is. And that's what I always like about all this too, is that you literally can reward yourself for working hard. And this all probably stems from when I was at Honeywell and I'm sitting in the office when I was an engineer, and you listen to these guys that have been there for 35, 40 years. And the thing was, all those guys were going to retire millionaires, because to Honeywell's credit, they all had, the stock programs, and those guys had been adding to the Honeywell stock, years over years, company matching, blah, blah, blah. All those guys, I'd say, like, wow, they're all about to retire multimillionaires, literally. And just to hear them complain and moan and this and that, because, but they never really had any vested interest. And I mean, it's not like, oh, I worked a 12-hour day today. Well, your paycheck on Friday is still going to be the exact same. It's not. There's no potential upside from that. So I need to end this.
You like it's okay. That's probably one of the most personal rants you've gone on for a while about your time at Honeywell. But I mean, I think it's safe to say that anybody interested in the market, just like you said, it's not a guaranteed paycheck. It's performance based. You like to be rewarded for your hard work, and you are willing to, if you perform poorly, literally not get paid. In fact, sometimes pay the market, pay whoever was on the other side of your trade. So that's just kind of I think it's a personality thing. I'm still in the boat firmly that anyone can learn how to trade, but at the same time, it definitely takes a certain personality to understand that, hey, I'm going to get paid based on how well I do, and I have to understand that I'm not always going to win.
And how much time I put in. That's just part of the business.
Yep,
effort,
exactly.
You said performance, absolutely. Effort and performance. And there is nothing wrong. Don't get any of us, don't misconstrue what we're saying. If you're, hey, what are you talking about? I enjoy working my 9-to-5, getting my paycheck, and then going home and spending the rest of the day with my family, friends, doing whatever I want. Hey, that is, if that's
more
perfectly
power
fine.
to you.
Yeah, more power to you. That's awesome. We're not bashing that at all. I'm just saying, and that, filters into Chez's point about you do have to have some sort of mindset where, you may just, that doesn't sound okay. You want to get more, so you want to kind of get more skin in the game where it's about performance and effort. So, Norse, I blame you for sending us on these tangents here, because
sorry, Norse.
Yeah, it's all you for causing us to go on these rants. But do you have anything else that you wanted to touch on or talk about before we wrap things up?
You guys talked about hard work and time and effort. This is a type of business where it doesn't matter how much time and effort you put into it, you could actually end up losing, even though you put in like 24 hours straight up with hard work. So it's not as rewarding at times as it would if you had the guaranteed paycheck. So, but that's the challenge.
It's a good point.
That's a challenge with the market. So you have to find a way to work around that aspect of it.
And this
you
is
got to work smarter.
Yeah,
exactly. And this is not intended to be a plug, but I'm going to plug my courses because I have enough testimonials to feel confident to do this. This is why, to Norse's point, and I wasn't going to bring it up because I don't want to, go off on this little kind of sales pitch tangent, but he's exactly right. Just because you put in 30 hours extra per week, if you're doing that 30 hours looking at Billy Bob's School of Trading that you found in the dark butt crack of the internet, do you really think that those 30 hours is going to yield anything to you? No, that's a total waste of time. So to Norse's point, yeah, you could put in all this time, you could have put in all this effort, but you got to work smarter, not harder. And just because you're working hard doesn't mean you're actually going to make any progress. So whether it's the courses that we offer here or something else, go for it. But and that's why the whole free education.
Do something with some structure, some structure, and more often than not, free is not better than paid for. I'm not saying everything paid for is good, but more often than not, just find someone you want to kind of help you do this who's done it for a while. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and I will say this. Every bit of information that you need is available on the internet for free. There's no doubt in my mind it's on the internet for free. The problem is it's on the internet. Does anybody understand how big the internet is? And even if you could piece together all the good pieces of info, then what order do you learn those pieces of info in? And it just becomes a massive poopy show. I'll just leave it at that. It becomes a massive crap show, and it just doesn't work. So excellent point, and I blame you again, Norse, for sending us off on this rant, but I wasn't going to bring it up. He did. And that's the other good point is effort, time, but you can definitely spend your time poorly. And if you don't know how to be spending your time, which is where a lot of newer traders are, it kind of is what it is. So would you like to send us off on any more rants, Norse? Do you have anything else you want to bring up? Because this is good stuff.
No, I don't think so. But regarding working smarter, one of my strategies, the EMA strategy, I kept on missing trades week after week after week. And when you miss the trade of the month, that just sends your mindset down to the basement. And that's why I had to hire that coder to work smarter, because there was no way I could set limit orders for a 1 hour EMA or set alerts or pending orders or
that's a good point.
Anything. I could do it with trend lines, and my wife was not so happy with alarms going off 3:30 a.m. So I had to come up with a solution. So to work smarter and not to go on that 24/7 kind of workday, because it only works for so long, and then you get burned out, and no wife will ever.
No, you're absolutely right. There's the practical side of things too. I mean, you need to make it more practical, because I would imagine most people's wives or husbands or whoever would be like, honey, bless your heart, I know you're trying, but these alarms are fine. They're good. It's not going to work out. So you're absolutely right. From a very practical sense, that also needs to be factored into all this, stuff too.
Yeah, and I had the alarm sound was like ding, ding, ding. Imagine that, the middle of the night.
Yeah, and then you get up and run over to the computer. That's funny to just stop and think about. You running around, tripping over the dog, kicking the cat, stubbing your toe. I'm sure was a scene. So that's a great way to effort, practicality, passion. We've gone down all sorts of great rabbit holes, and we're going to wrap things up here. But Norse, I commend you. I congratulate you on your continued success. A lot of people, like we brought up, don't even last 6 months, let alone a year, let alone going on over 2 years. So your perseverance is definitely paying, and I have no doubt in my mind you're going to continue to uptrend, and as long as you manage that risk and stay focused on the things that you are. So, Ches, any final things for Norse here?
No, just wanted to thank him for coming back and being a guest. It's, you nailed it in the sense that most people don't last 6 months. So here he is 2 years later, and the only thing he's working on is trying to get more and more efficient. So no, it's been totally awesome. Thanks again for coming on, Norse.
Yeah, Norse, I will echo that, and thank you very much. And we'd love to have you back again, but my promise to you is we'll try not to make it 2 years before we have you back. So hopefully you'd be willing to come back and keep us updated on things. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Pleasure to be here and talking to you guys.
Awesome. So thank you to all the listeners out there. Before you go, though, final few things. If you are listening on our website, the show notes page, make sure to click that share button down below. You can leave comments, and if you do leave those, we will read them. In fact, now that I think about it, that's how Norse and I lined this up. He left a couple comments on somebody else's podcast, and I said, hey, Norse, you want to come back? And long story short, here we are. So we definitely do read those comments. If you're listening on iTunes or any of the other podcast players, make sure to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. And especially on iTunes, if you could leave us a rating there, that would be extremely appreciated. And then finally, if you're listening on YouTube, be sure to check out the channel as a whole. Lots of different videos live trading, quick tip videos. There's a vlog section. So lots of different things going on with the YouTube channel. So if you are listening, click that like button and then check out the rest of the channel, and hopefully you decide to subscribe. So again, thank you to Norse, thank you to Ches, and thank you most of all to you as listeners.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the Clay Trader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit claytrader.com.